possibly for the next 6 months.
Big supplies, but we've had very strong demand, some record export months for both pork and beef. And so, Tim, do we continue to see those strong exports into 19? And what happens if...
I'll tell you something.
Oh, what's that?
I need to tell you this.
Yeah?
I'm hearing something.
Oh, what's that, Milton?
I've been hearing something.
Hearing something?
Yeah.
What do you mean, like outside?
Well, I was...
In the chicken coop?
No, not outside.
You've been hearing something, but not outside.
Right.
You're going to have to tell me what you're talking about, Milton.
Something has changed. In my mind, it's not working the way it used to.
Are you okay, Milton?
Well, I feel fine, but...
Well, what is it?
Is, I don't know.
Well, you went to the doctor last week.
Yeah, I know.
You had your checkup and you said you was fine.
Yeah, I know.
Besides your diabetes, your blood pressure, and your spastic colon, you said everything was fine.
Right, I know.
Well, does it hurt?
What?
Well, your mind.
No.
We should tell the doctor about this.
No.
Well, if you feel like your mind is acting goofy on you, you got to tell the doctor. You can't just...
I'm too embarrassed.
Embarrassed?
Yes.
Milton, he's a doctor. He sees embarrassing things every day.
I don't feel comfortable.
We've known Dr. Todval all our lives.
What am I supposed to tell him? Doctor, I'm hearing music in my head. Okay. I'm hearing music in my head, Louise. It just comes on and off and on and off and on and off.
Music in your head?
Hearing it right now.
Well, what kind of music?
Yeah, it's hard to describe.
It's like the high school band?
No.
Junior high band?
No.
Okay then, okay. I'm just trying to understand this.
Well, you can't understand it because you're not in my mind. You don't hear it.
I guess not. Yeah. Well, we got to do something about this, Milton.
What?
I don't know.
Me neither.
Well, I'm going to call Dr. Todval.
No.
We got to find out.
But it stopped now.
What?
The music.
Oh, I guess that's good then. That's good, right?
I don't know.
Well, do we need to do something?
Well, I don't actually mind the music.
You don't mind it?
I always kind of like music, the sound of it. You know, what I'm hearing in my head is pretty good stuff.
Oh, well, maybe you're okay with it then, huh?
Maybe.
I mean, if you like the music, maybe it's okay. If it ain't hurting you or something, you know. Yeah. You just got some free music floating around in your head.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, well, how'd this whole thing start, Milton?
I was just sitting on the old hay wagon, the edge of the grove, next to the old manure spreader in the shade there, having a little Kool-Aid, and I was sitting there, you know, and I was looking down in the meadow, watching the creek, and I could hear it bubbling down there, and then a deer stepped out of the cornfield and walked to the creek and took a little drink of water.
Oh, that's always nice.
And I reached into my top pocket and I pulled out my jackknife and started to clean my fingernails. And somehow the knife slipped out of my hand and fell into the weeds. So I slid off the wagon and I bent over to pick up the knife.
Yeah.
When I stood back up, there was a bluebird sitting in a little branch in a wild plum tree right next to me, 2 feet away.
Really? They're usually kind of shy.
And he looked at me for, I'd say a good 10 seconds. Just looked right at me. Then he chirped 3 times, and then zip, off he went.
You don't see him too often anymore.
I hopped back up on the wagon, and that is when it happened.
Well, what happened?
Music started up in my head.
Just like that, out of the blue.
First, I thought you had the radio on up here real loud and maybe had the window open or something.
No, I didn't.
Then I knew it was it's coming from my head. I never heard nothing like it. It's something else.
Goodness.
Please do not tell anybody about this.
Oh, now who would I tell, Milton?
I don't know, your girlfriends, the ladies in your Red Hat Society.
Oh, wouldn't tell them. Especially not Sharon Kalipski. She's one big mouth gossip. That's all she talks about. Last week, we were making those little windmills from the old Hilux bottles for the yard. And she was going on and on about her husband and how he has such a bad problem with hemorrhoids that he has to wear a special lining in his underpants so the blood stops coming through. Can you imagine that? Talk about being embarrassed. And now you know everybody in town knows about poor Daryl's leaky hemorrhoids. I mean, if she told us about it, she sure as heck told everyone else. Well, and she's not the only blabbermouth from the Red Hat group. That Janelle Olson is a huge gossip too. You know what she told me about her sister? Well, first of all, she's a lesbian and she likes to dress up in men's clothes, which I don't care because it's too
Hold it.
Well, I'm just saying, who would I tell?
Music's back.
In your head?
Yeah?
Oh, my. Well, is it always the same song or are there different songs that play?
What do you mean?
I mean, is it the same thing over and over again?
No, I never recognized the music.
Oh, so it's music you ain't heard before. Is that what you mean?
Sorry, I can't hear you right now. It's
Oh, it's on right now.
huh?
Never mind. I'll wait.
Stop again.
Okay then.
What did you say?
What's that?
Before, when the music was on, you said something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was, what was I going to say? Forgot it. Darn it. I was going to say something about, I hate when that happens. It's right on the tip of my mind, but I can't remember it.
It might come back to you if you don't think about it. If you try to remember it, you won't. But if you don't try, you probably will.
Yeah, but what the heck was it talking about?
Janelle Olson's husband with the leaky hemorrhoids and the specially designed underpants?
No, Janelle's sister is the lesbian who likes to dress like a man.
Well, now I'm confused.
I told you this.
What?
Sharon Kalipski's husband has to wear the special lining in his underpants because of the hemorrhoids.
Right.
And Janelle's sister is the lesbian who likes to
Dress up like a man.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
So you had those two mixed up.
Okay.
Are you all right, Milton?
I feel fine.
Oh, I know what it was.
What?
what I was going to say before.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music in your head. It's music you never heard before. Is that what you said?
You wouldn't recognize it
Well, how do you know that?
because it's nothing I ever heard on the radio or off a record or anywhere.
Maybe it's music from a different country that you've never heard.
No, I can tell. Something's telling me it's original music, I guess you would call it. It's being created in my head or coming through from somewhere or somewhere else. Or like I say, I do not want you to tell anybody about this.
I'm not going to.
No one would understand.
Milton, do you think it's really there? Or do you just think you hear the music?
I'm telling you, Louise, it's a real thing. It's crystal clear. It's powerful, and
What, Milton?
it's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
Oh. Uh-huh. You want some more coffee?
At first, it did kind of scare me.
Oh, well, I bet it would. I mean, if 1 minute you're drinking Kool-Aid on a hay wagon and the next thing you know, you got this music bouncing around in your head, that would scare a person.
No, it's just.
What is it?
Just can't believe the beauty of it.
I wish I could hear it.
It's something else.
You seem kind of emotional about it.
I suppose I am.
Like it's got a hold of you.
Yeah,
It don't scare you now.
it's just terribly beautiful.
Well, what should I do, Milton? Can I do something?
I don't know. This is a new thing.
Yeah. It's a situation. That's for sure.
Well, I got to go milk the cows.
Okay. How about liver and onions for supper?
That sounds good.
We haven't had that in a while, and I know you love it.
I do.
Milton,
Yeah,
you know I love you.
I know you do.
You are a liar and sick and an alcoholic. Okay? You are an alcoholic. Yes, that's right. God. That's right. I've said it now. Everybody knows. So get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Quiet. Drink.
I just don't understand these people on these reality shows can mess their lives up so much. That poor woman has drunk herself into a complete stupor. She fell down the steps. She vomited on her brother. She goes to the doctor. He tells her liver is half gone. She comes home. She eats a handful of pills, and then she has a seizure. I mean, people are they just don't know how to live. Oh, Milton, did I tell you I got a call from Father Dietz today? He asked about you. You told him you was going to build the dunk tank for the St. Joseph's fundraiser. That's in 3 weeks, so August 1st. Oh, that should be fun, though. Raise some money for the church and have a little fun. Kids will be there. Oh, I'm baking 7 rhubarb pies. Don't ask me how we arrived at 7, but that's the number. Oh, well, they should go fast. Who don't love a rhubarb pie, And we get to help the church, so that's a good thing, don't you think? Milton? 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 Milton!
What? What? Hey,
Are
What
you
is-
okay? Are you
Yeah.
okay? Well, I turned the TV off and you didn't notice. I yelled 2 times and you didn't notice.
I noticed.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what was I talking about then if you heard me?
Sharon Kalipski's husband and the leaking hemorrhoids.
No, I wasn't.
Well, okay then.
I'm starting to worry about you, Milton.
Why?
Why do you think?
Everything's fine.
But a minute ago, I was trying to talk to you and you weren't hearing me. Your music was on, right?
I suppose.
You suppose. I'm glad that you like your music, but do you have to listen to it all the time?
I do not control it, Louise.
It's starting to scare me a little bit.
Nothing to be scared of. Like I say, it's beautiful music, just completely beautiful.
But I want to talk to you.
Okay, well, we're talking.
I feel like you don't know where you're at. And it makes me uncomfortable. I'm not used to something like this. Milton? Milton? Milton! Oh, Lord Jesus, help me, Lord.
What the hell?
Are you all right?
What happened?
I was trying to talk to you.
When?
No!
My head hurts.
I'm sorry.
What are you sorry for?
I hit your head.
You hit my head?
I'm sorry.
Why the hell did you hit my head?
Well, damn it. I was trying to talk to you, but you wouldn't, or you couldn't hear me. And I panicked, I guess. I've never been through something like this before, so I hit your head.
We do not hit each other in this house.
I know.
We never have.
I know it, Milton.
30 years of marriage, we have never gone to hitting.
We've never even come close.
So why in the goddamn hell did you hit me now?
'Cause I was scared, all right? If you're going to yell at me, then I'm going to yell right back. I was scared, so I hit you, all right?
Couldn't have just called my name or poked me, or
I tried.
you did?
I did.
I think it's time for bed.
I'm sorry, Milton.
Okay then,
I didn't know what to do.
I'm going to bed.
The situation with your music is new for me, and I didn't know.
We'll talk about it in the morning.
I love you.
Okay then.
We'll talk about your marketing recommendations for 19, short and long term, Tim.
I think producers look at the futures market now, and the futures market for both feeder cattle and live cattle, the prices are the same as the cash price of last.
Morning. It's a little warm out there today, ain't it? Supposed to get some rain later on today, though. Up to 2 inches, so that's good. We could use some. It's been a little dry for what, a couple weeks now, right? Corn's starting to wilt and it looks kind of sad. See, how's that little calf doing? You know, the one with the limp? Is she going to be okay, Milton?
I hope so.
Oh, me too. Don't want to lose another calf. Can't afford to happen that very often, can we? How are you doing today?
Not too good.
No. What's the matter, Milton? How's your mind?
I lost the music.
You lost it.
It's gone.
Oh, for good. It's gone.
Ain't heard it since last night.
I see. Well, maybe that's just the way it's.
Not
it's
since
supposed to mean.
not since you hit me.
Oh,
So I'm not hearing my music.
uh-huh.
I just hope it comes back.
Will you be mad if it don't come back?
I never experienced anything as completely beautiful as that music.
You said that.
It was alive in me, and I already miss it.
Do ya?
It's the most beautiful thing I ever had.
Milton, it hurts me.
What?
This situation.
Why?
I feel like you left me.
Well,
You left me for something I can't compete with. I can't see it. I can't feel it. I can't hear it. I hurt, Milton, and I'm glad your music is gone. I'm glad. And I hope it don't come back. A week ago, we was fine. We was just fine. We were talking about taking our camping trip to Lake Okoboji, fishing for bullheads like we've done for 30 years. 30 years, Milton. I need to talk to you. I don't know what I'd do if you weren't here. I do not know what I'd do.
Louise, we're not done fishing for bullheads. We're going to drive up to Lake Okoboji. We're going to put up our tent. We're going to rent a nice pontoon from Daryl, and hey, we'll catch so damn many bullheads we'll get sick of eating them. And after a week of that, I'll start to forget all about my music. We'll come back home, and after a few more days, I won't even miss that music at all. I'm going to pray for this. It's going to be okay, Louise. It's all going to be okay. Because before I ever heard the music, I met you. And I heard your music. And I still do.
Oh, now you got me crying, you big dummy. Oh, you big dummy. Do you want some more coffee?
No, thanks, Pumpkin. I better go check on that little calf.
Yeah. I love you, Milton.
I know you do.
So much.
And you know I love you too, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, then.
Milton,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that little bluebird.
One I seen in the wild plum tree?
Yeah. You seen the bluebird, and then you started hearing your music.
Yeah.
Do you think they're connected or something?
I know they are.
I think so too.
I just don't know what it means.
Me neither.
Okay, then.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, then. All right. Thank you, everybody. I want to introduce our playwright and cast and director. So first, Cheryl Hawker is Louise. So come on, Cheryl. And then we have both playwright and Milton, Joe Keys.
Howdy.
And directed by Peter Flood. Come on down, Peter. Excellent. All right. And to everybody in the house, so we're going to do a little talk back right now. And then I'm actually going to open it up to you guys. You know, since again, we are celebrating 1 year, I really want to know, we have a lot of people that we know out here and some that we don't. And I'd love to share your stories on how you've been keeping creative over this last year. So it's all going to be a part of our talk back, and I'd love you guys to share about your own personal creativity. So before we get into that, I want to ask Joe and Cheryl. I know both of you guys are from Minnesota, and
No,
Yeah,
no, we're not.
yeah, we are.
and I just want to ask about. This sounds funny, but I'm curious about theater and plays and creativity and like where you guys started and how you've basically found your voice growing up in small towns.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
I went to the University of Minnesota, got a bachelor's degree in theater arts. Then I joined a comedy troupe in Minneapolis, Dudley Riggs' Brave New Workshop, where I got improv training. And then I taught junior high school for 4 or 5 years and decided I needed to make a trip and ventured across the mountains to the West Coast. And I haven't turned back since.
Excellent. Well, what about before college? I mean, what whispered in your ear that made you major in theater arts?
I just think I was in high school and I was a misfit and gathered up more misfits, and we banded together and we started a theater troupe, and I was on the stage all through junior, senior high, then I went to school for it. So, I think I chose the path. I don't know what bell rang off. I know my older sister would take me to movies, R-rated movies, PG movies when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. So, we went, my first concert was Steve Martin, and I knew comedy was my trigger. So.
Right. Great. Joe, what about you?
Where'd you see Steve Martin?
At the Hippogriff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At the Hippogriff? I used to play in a band. I played in a band at the Hippogriff on Sunday nights for about a year.
Yeah.
Sorry, we digress. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Where did you find your creative voice growing up out in did you grow up on a farm, Joe? Or just
my grandmother and my uncle lived on a farm, and we used to go out there for Sunday dinners. And I've worked on farms when I was in high school, baling hay and pulling weeds out of bean fields and stuff. And so I grew up in a small town, and for some reason I too have always felt like a misfit, and I've always just looked at life as kind of an absurd pageant of one weird character after another. Maybe it's because I always felt like I didn't fit in, and I thought everybody else was very strange, and not in a terrible sense, sometimes in a comedic great, I really enjoyed, and sometimes horrifying, but I failed miserably at most attempts at higher education. But I do enjoy the theater and writing and comedy and doing this stuff. So thank you, Todd and Peter, very much for this experience once again.
Of course. Peter, are you from a small town?
No. But I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. Well, I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. Both my parents were from Kansas City, Missouri. I did have a grandfather and an uncle who were a great uncle who were on a farm outside of Kansas City. That I remember. I have strong memories of small farm, and they were all really homesteaders. They all had come to Kansas and Missouri in a wagon. So, yeah, I mean, it was sitting around the living room after dinner sort of thing, where the entire family's there and you're waiting for somebody to talk. That's what I remember. And someone's in the back room, about to die. So.
Got it. Was who were the storytellers that you grew up around, or did you form that yourself? So, Joe, were you surrounded? Were your mom and dad and siblings or cousins or whomever, were they storytellers that you sort of glommed onto, or?
I don't remember that they were. I do remember my dad, who was a country doctor and the coroner. I remember him, giving a rundown of the day's activities of who he treated and what happened and who got hurt. And so that's not necessarily a story, but I remember that happening on a regular basis. And I don't know who was a really great storyteller. I think my uncle Phil, who also was a farmer, I think maybe he used to tell pretty good stories. I don't, it's funny, I don't remember.
Got it. Cheryl, were you surrounded by storytellers, or were you just as the misfit? It was, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah, I was the middle child, so
Me too.
I have two sisters, one who's 10 years older, another one who's 10 years younger. So I was always, look at me, not these, I know she's doing great in school, look at me. And then there was the baby. So I was constantly dancing around trying to get attention from whomever could get it. And then my father is a high school teacher. So everything to him was a game. You sat at the dinner table and you would be eating your food and he would say, before I come to 5, name 3 types of toothpaste. 1, 2, 3. It was constantly games, learning,
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Peter, I know a bit about your life from when you got to New York, but so I know your history and your I have a feeling you are so layered in just your background, just by knowing you, that you've done so much. What was it that propelled you to go into this field?
Well, I did as far as storytellers. So Texas is like chock full of storytellers. It's a storyteller culture. Everybody I knew growing up was in one form or another. And to touch on what Cheryl was just talking about, it was actually kind of an acting lesson, because the person wasn't aware of someone. They were just telling the story. They weren't, they were kind of in a relaxed reality, and the story was just coming from them. So that was always something that was spellbinding. And you kind of always wanted it. I mean, you aspired to it. So at an early age, I began, lying as much as I could, and at some point I said, well, if I'm going to lie for a living, I should at least be honest. It should be honest line, anyhow. No. And Texas had an underground at that time in the late 60s and early 70s. And Texas had an underground railroad to New York. Almost nobody I knew came to LA. They all went to New York, and almost all, they're just, New York is full of Texans in the arts. And, the thing about Texas now, because of the evangelical rise of evangelical politics and all that stuff, Texas has an identity now that is actually nothing like the Texas I grew up in. There's a blue belly underside of it that is bohemian, kind of libertarian without a political vent. And it was really prided, speaking your mind and saying what's on your mind. It was always kind of brutally honest in that regard. And so it was later in New York. It was I kind of feel like I went back to that, no longer aspiring to sophistication. And, there was something deeper than simply sophistication. And authentic life, for instance. And anyway, New York, New York was a training ground, because I went there in the early 70s and was wide open. Everybody had left New York. It was in bankruptcy, and all these spaces opened up in Midtown and downtown. The public theater, Joe Papp, off Broadway work. It was all empty spaces, and it just was filled with artists, either pictorial, painters, musicians, and theater people. It was everywhere. A very fervent period. It's a great time.
How many years did you live in New York, Peter?
22 years.
Oh yeah, wow.
So with regards to what we've gone through over the last year, which is just, I'm going to call it like a lull in humanity. There's a need, especially for us, just to keep on creating, keep on moving, and like what Gina talked about in the piece, that sometimes it's tough. So in that time when you were in New York and there was that lull, did the artists fill that void? And do you see that that's what's happened over this year? Like, do you think that that there was a void, there was a vacuum, and it was filled by creativity or repelled?
No, I hadn't thought about that, Todd. It's a really good point. Yeah, I do think this year, because of the elimination of normalcy, what comes forward, in that way, what does come forward is no longer planning. It is stuff that comes out of spontaneity, out of survival, out of instinct, out of impulsivity and a passion for continuing to do what you love to do, as opposed to what you have to do every single day. And so I really, in many ways, I think this is I'm profoundly grateful, not for the suffering of the last year, obviously, and the survival. I'm grateful for the political survival of the year. I'm also grateful for the time that has been offered, through smartphone theater. And in an odd way, the emergence of Zoom as a platform by which we communicate and use to our advantage creativity. And so it's been a very creative time for both me and Claire. And I think just pretty much everybody. I know Joe because we've been working on other projects, and I just met with Cheryl and really love what she did. And I'm very happy to have added her to my list of fabulous actors.
Yes.
Joe, have you
Top
found
of
this
your
to
list.
be?
You meant to say the top of your list, right?
Yeah. Have you guys, Cheryl, have you and Joe, I know you're in separate locations, but have you found this to be a very creative time, to be a time of suffering, or what have you?
I wouldn't consider the last year creative.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't consider it suffering. It was just a lull. Like I find I have to actually get up and put my pajamas on. Maybe it's been rough. I work at the theater here in Los Angeles, the Amundsen Theater, Mark Taper Theater, and that just got sucked away. So that was hard. It's hard to see theater sucked away, but it does my heart good to see it coming back in new forms and new ways. But that was rough on me to watch three theaters of mine just be sucked away.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Right.
I haven't been that creative, haven't left the house. I may get to the mailbox and back and do a little walk in the morning, but that's about it. So it's been rough. I would not call it creative. I was very happy that Joe gave me a call and said, would you like to do this? And I'm like, I'm not putting makeup on anything until the day of. I hope I can get my computer, everything just seems like you're walking in soup. So it's good to see the light at the end of the tunnel that,
Good.
things are
Well,
starting to come back.
We were thrilled and are thrilled that you're here.
Thank
So
you.
That's great. Joe, how
I
much
will
writing
say
do
on
you
what Cheryl just said, Zoom as fun as it is. I mean, there is no substitute for having the room, the theater itself, where you have
Yeah.
life in a shared experience, spontaneous, moment to moment, with the play and the people who bring it to life. Now, there is absolutely no substitute for that.
Yeah.
If anybody, I see some of the names out in the house. So if anybody wants to share any of your own experiences over this last year, how you've been keeping creative, then please do. I'm really thankful to see so many playwrights and actors in the audience who have been part of Smartphone Theater. So thank you. And we're going to be continuing to celebrate you guys each week. So next week and the week following. So Joe, you've written how many plays over this last year?
Well,
It seems like you always have a pen in your hand.
yeah, I mean, it's the whole shutdown I mean, I've just out of desperation, I've done probably more writing this year than I did have in the past year because, what we all had to deal with on a daily basis, just the depression of being locked down and the political climate, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just sort of stumbled on this idea of this home fires thing because I already had the first one had been done years ago and I needed something. And then so we've been having so much fun, Peter and I and Steve Hoffendahl and Lily Knight and you in creating that kind of hybrid series of, Zoom meets the theater. And I have 4 of them now and we're going to just keep going until I don't know how long we'll keep going until if they're any good and they keep coming, we're going to shoot the third one, so that's been a real thrill for me to work in a real great collaboration. And as far as today's piece, I knew Cheryl was the only person I thought could do this because I've worked with Cheryl. She was in another play I wrote and she was great. She got nominated for a Garland Award for acting. And so I was thinking of that same character in this. And I was so glad she said she wanted to do it because then I wanted to do it more. And I'm glad that you guys allowed this piece to kind of come in as it did too. Very grateful for Smartphone. It's just, it's kept me, in a much better spirits than I would otherwise have been.
Well, I tell you, my habits have improved greatly over this year. So, you have the opportunity to sit and lie in bed or, my alarm goes off regardless of the night. My alarm, it goes off at 6:45 every morning. And that's it. And that starts my day. And
could you come bring me coffee then? Could you wake up and bring
sure.
me coffee?
I don't
Help
do
me
coffee.
out of bed, please.
I'll call you. Promise.
Yeah.
But this has been a great exercise in creating new habits because if you don't, you're just not going to go anywhere. So it's been, for me, I've had to set a schedule. It's like, this is where I am from 9 to 11. This is where I am from 11 to 1. This is where, and it just goes that way. And it's for the people who have actually called and said, "Hey, Todd, how you doing? What's going on?" The conversation's gone like this. "Hey, I would love to talk, but I can't right now. Let's talk in the evening. I have nights open." And that's it. That otherwise, none of this would work because it has to, for me, and it's been wonderful because now my next day, I have that habit of getting up in the morning, of doing whatever I'm supposed to do from that 9 to 11 slot, which has worked. And then when I don't do it, I miss it. I completely miss it. So it's, I think it's, that's my lemonade story from this whole pandemic.
Well, you must have, it must have consumed, how many plays have you produced?
This was number 45.
Good Lord.
40. Well, it was our 45th Friday. We've done a couple full lengths. So so those equate for 2, and then we've done a handful of interviews. But today was our 45th Friday that we've produced something. So it's been great. It's been great. This is actually a question, Joe, to you from Rick Sandak. He asks, did it ever come up in the writing process to have Cheryl ask you to sing the song in your head and share it?
Ooh. No, that's an interesting idea. I think if that had, his response would have been, no, I can't. It's so otherworldly that I can't even imitate it. That's what I think my response would probably be to that. Or maybe try to get some comedic traction out of trying to do it and failing, perhaps.
Liz Davies, you're on.
Hey, how you
Liz.
guys? So I know the 2 actors. It was wonderful.
Hi, Liz.
Hey, I live in the heart of central Minnesota at this point. I know these guys from LA, but let me tell you, you nail it. You nail that accent so good. And the whole ethos. I just wanted to also, it has been so exciting, the exploration of theater and in this time period. I just wanted to share this really weird thing that I did. I bought a ticket to a show that was presented by 600 Highwaymen. I don't know if you guys heard about this. But it went through colleges, and you got a phone number, and it was a time, and a stranger calls you on a phone and you sit and have a conversation that's moderated by a computer, basically, by a disembodied voice with a script that evidently was the same across the country. And I can't tell you, it was very compelling. It was it was sort of in the heart of winter, and it was dark and cold and quiet. And I was just on this phone with it was a guy, and he was in the West Coast, I think. But you don't really know, and you just are prompted, and you talk, and things come up, and I was moved to tears. It was fascinating.
Wow.
Such a strange experience. And so, but thank you guys to, fostering just the exploration of what theater can be like when we don't have our stages.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you. That's fascinating.
It was. There's going to be an act 2 where I don't think I meet the person I talk to, but it's a physical, but obviously it's been postponed to 2022 or something.
Right. Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll tell you what just so people know, I see with smartphone theater, as theaters open up and people start having faith and trust and so forth to go back into a live theater, we're still going to do our shows on Friday. They may not be every week, but we will absolutely do our shows. And I also see this platform as being very constructive in the workshopping of new shows. I think that this will certainly work when you have playwrights who have just created new works and they want to hear it out loud, and they're open to having it in front of an audience, even a virtual audience. So I think what we've created is going to continue to morph to basically serve both the playwrights, serve the directors, serve the actors, serve the creative community, and serve our audience as well. So, we're certainly going to keep everything open, and it's not like the theaters are going to open and that's going to be it. We're just going to keep on going.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Great.
Okay. So if anybody else has anything to share, please raise your hand. And I'll activate your mic. If you do not, then I'm going to speak really slow and thank everybody. And you guys, I will send you another link. So check your email in about 2 minutes after we hang up, and we're going to do a little post-show wrap-up. Other than that, to everybody out in the audience, thank you guys for joining us. Remember that we have a show next week and the week following, and another one after that. So we still have a lot going on. It's our first anniversary. Thank you so much to all of our creatives who continue to join us. And remember to donate on the website, smartphonetheater.com, and which will support us. And that's it. And we'll see you next week. All right. Thank you, guys. Brilliant job.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys. Bye-bye.